Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the Roaming Prepper. I'm Pete, and I'm your host this evening. We'll start by introducing our two guests. Today, we're going to have two very special folks that I've been interacting with for quite a while, and all of you know at least one of the two of them. Most of you probably know them both, but I would like to bring Lucky Dame and Apartment Prepper. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
So let's go say hello to. Oh, the chat was going. Hold on a second
Ooh,
here.
look at all these people. Hello,
Yeah,
all
this
you
one.
fine folks.
Yeah. So hello, we're going back now. I was chatting with a few earlier. Hey, Caribbean House and Joe Morgan. Welcome, welcome. We've got Loretta Hooch, True American Loretta. Thank you so much, Nate. And let's see, Die Bullfrog 79. Welcome.
Uncle Al.
And hi, hey, Uncle Al. And Vision, welcome. I'm glad you made it tonight. And by the way, there's a lot of content creators, folks in the chat, as well as the two on the screen. So make sure you support them. Go like, subscribe, put comments. If you don't know what to put, just put random letters. And hey, Sassy Gal, welcome. And well, cool. Well, and Cold War Prepper snuck in there at the bottom there. I just saw. So great. It looks like we've got everyone going here. Audience, how's our audio? How's our video? Someone could give me a 5x5 and we'll turn the floor over to the ladies. So, anyway, so Lucky, Apartment
Yes.
Prepper, how's your week been?
I'm here.
I'm kind of having the same feeling. I actually came sliding into the live. We just got home like 20 minutes ago, so I came running into the house like I gotta go. So I'm catching my breath. It's been I feel like every week's a weird week these days, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's a weird week. It's not
no
not
doubt.
bad. It took a turn today for the better, which is good. But
Awesome.
yeah, take it where you can get it, right?
Yes,
That's the
yes.
truth.
Yeah.
That's the
I've
truth.
been struggling with my health, but I'm here, and I'm doing a little bit better every day, hopefully.
Awesome.
Well, good. Well, folks, we were talking backstage, and the theme of tonight is trying to prep and get ideas and share ideas for prepping with limited space or when you have to reload. I think all three of us have relocated, tried to reload with preps, lived in
Hmm.
apartments and condos and houses. Um, so before we go any further, I'm going to start with the intro question, just so to get us kicked off. What got you into preparedness? So I guess we can go left to right. So from my right would be Lucky. So Lucky, why don't you kick off and then we'll go to apartment.
What got me into preparedness. So anyone who's listened to my channel has probably heard this story, but maybe not. So and some folks laugh at me and kind of tease me about it good naturedly. Y2K. But it wasn't actually Y2K. It was actually, I was married to someone else at the time, not my current husband. So it was my now ex husband. And he kind of got into it. And as I keep explaining myself, and people keep teasing me, I never actually kind of bought into the whole Y2K thing, but I got interested in preparedness. He bought into it. He thought, we're all going to die, everything's going to crash, all this kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, it just didn't make sense to me, but I know a whole lot of people did believe there was a real possibility. So I got into preparedness. I actually got into it a lot more than he did in the end. And we had a few things. It was, let's see, it was so the year rolled over and everything was fine, of course. But then we were living in Atlanta and there was a big ice storm and took out the power because we were living kind of in the Midtown area. Anyone who's in Atlanta, it was actually Virginia Highlands area. If anyone's in Atlanta, you know where I'm talking about. It was Virginia Highlands area and power went out, and you know the sound the power lines make when the ice breaks it, that snap, and you hear that whirring sound where it comes spinning off. Yeah, and then it just pops and the power's out.
Mm.
And we had preps. They weren't great preps. Looking back, I was like, man, I wish I had better stuff. Wish we had like a camp stove instead of the little pop-up thing with the little Coleman tablets, but they worked. And I was so glad that we had those and we were able to cook over it, and we had some things. But so yeah, so we parted ways, and I stuck with preparedness because it made sense to me. And yeah, I never actually. So going back to the Y2K thing, I never kind of went into the whole why Y2K people thought that was going to happen, but I did believe, and I still do believe now more than ever, um, prepping for economic collapse, things like that. So that's always kind of been the thing that kept me in preparedness. Was I always felt like that was a very real possibility, and unfortunately, in the last 2 years, more realer than ever.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
I think Lucky, you and I had chatted once, and I had said, if we decided to write a book and said, hey, there'll be a pandemic, a war will break out in Europe, and there'll be economic collapse, rioting in the streets. It was like too many disasters now. And it literally has happened in the last, what,
that'd be an
20
amazing series of books, right? I mean, too
I'm
bad we
telling
didn't come up with that storyline. We would have made bank on that. That would have been
I'm
awesome.
telling you.
I
People
mean,
wouldn't have believed us. They're like, that all that can't happen at
oh,
once.
no, but it would have been
Ta-da.
an amazing story. Mister tells me that, oh gosh, what is that book? I've referenced it before, and it's supposed to be good, and I just can't get myself to read it.
Um,
I'll think of the title in a second. Something about
Not one
Sparta or
second.
Spartans. No, not 1 second. I actually, um,
I'm trying to think which one.
Furfowl, his actual name is whatever, for something or another, William something.
Professor Forstein,
Yeah,
whatever.
when he
Yeah.
wrote that as rough draft and it was on all the preparedness and survival forums back in the day, I read it then when it was free on the forums.
Mhm.
And then when he went to publish it, he pulled it down real quick and people were like, "Hey, I wasn't done. Too bad." Because it was hard to get stuff published then, nobody was into survival
Yeah.
fiction. That was crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well,
And it
yeah,
always
then
involved zombies. Didn't involve realistic
well,
things.
yeah, the only other thing that was really out at the time was, Rawls, Tripalot, which
Mhm.
was then later renamed Patriots and revised a little bit, and that was kind of people were like, I don't know about that. But yeah, the 1 second after when that came out, that kinda sorta him and Rawls kinda, I feel like, opened the door to,
Yeah.
a lot of more fiction. But, yeah, that would have been a great series of books and could have made bank off that, right?
For sure. For
Rich.
sure. So, apartment prepper, how about you? How did you start this journey?
Well, I several people are going to hear this story again, but that's okay. My mom was what I like to call a prepper light. She
Okay.
she did the in case of a storm, and so we always had a few extra can opener, candles, just that couple days worth of stuff was always there growing up. It was just she was adamant about it. That's something we always had to
Mhm.
have. And then in the trying to remember mid 2012, 14, somewhere in there, I went back to Oklahoma to take care of her because she was aging, and we did not have a lot of money, and so I started shopping the sales and stuff and stacking up that way to have food in the house. And so I started building a pantry that way and getting more into looking online and for information on prepping because that's really what I was doing. And then obviously once 2020 hit,
Mhm.
I doubled down. So
Yeah, that's my dad was
I'm
a
not
Cold
embarrassed to
War.
say 2020 made me get way more serious on it because I mean a lot of people are like, oh well, you didn't come along till 2020. No, I was doing stuff before then, and
No.
even if I wasn't, at least people who opened their eyes in 2020, and even someone who opened their eyes yesterday, at least they're opening their eyes.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And actually, I was a blizzard prepper, is what I was when I lived in the Northeast. I tried to drive from the city to upstate New York to the college where my guard base was. And I followed plow trucks through, like, all the way through the Adirondacks with the CB asking them, hey, are you going to make a right here? Because I couldn't see them. I saw the little
Oh
blinking
wow.
light in the back. And I figured if it suddenly went down, they went off the cliff, I should just pull over and be done. That's where I'm
Oh
staying.
my gosh.
But my first hurricane when I moved down to the Gulf Coast with the energy sector, that with a family, and I had my little blizzard pack. But that's when it started for me, and then 2020. I think it all of us went on steroids at that point.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I burned out at the end of 2020. By the time November came, by the time I limped into November, I was like, I don't know. I was so burned out. Oh my gosh, did we
I think a
double
lot of
down?
people were.
Holy
Yeah.
cow. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in a house back then, and I had an entire room dedicated to my pantry and preparedness storage and everything, one of the bedrooms. And I had enough stuff for a couple of years in every way, not just food, everything.
Well,
And
good.
well, I don't have it now.
Oh,
I
well.
moved and a lot of stuff happened. I had to leave a bunch of that behind because moving, you can
Oh,
only take so much, at least I
Yeah.
could. And
yeah.
yeah, so I had to start over again. In fact, this past January, I had to start pretty much all over again with the food part of it. So
Wow.
I am
Yeah, I
rebuilding.
like Arkansas's comment. You know, we often think about not finding food, but we often don't think about the people who are managing the store, trying to get the product out there, what they're
Mm.
seeing, and that
I
had to
did not
be
envy the
crazy.
workers. Yeah.
No,
No, yeah. I always make sure, even now, I mean, I don't go to the store a lot now because I don't have a vehicle, but especially in 2020, I always made sure to thank the cashiers and tell them how much I appreciate them and everything they're doing and tell them to
Mhm.
stay strong because I know everybody's not treating them nicely. I
Yeah.
made a point of that.
Mhm.
That's just something kind of my mom instilled in me too, but just make a point to say thank you.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's kind of how I'm just say thank you, be nice, because why
Mhm.
not? I
Well,
mean,
yeah, and also, I mean, you're not helping the situation if they start
Exactly.
losing workers because we're
yeah.
being buttholes. That's not helping
And that is
us.
Because
why
we're
a lot of
behaving
people
badly.
quit. A
Yeah,
lot of people
exactly.
quit because of the public.
Hmm.
Oh, I believe it. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, they punch each other for cheap TVs from China.
Yeah.
You know, let's celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior Christ, and then
I
they're
mean,
fighting
Yeah,
beat your
over.
right.
ass, right?
Yeah,
Hallelujah.
let me
Bam.
let me whoop
Yeah.
that butt. Exactly. Yeah.
we
So I get
my
10% off.
my
Woohoo.
youngest son and I, the one who just came from deployment when he was still in high school, I'm like, hey, you want to go people watch for Black Friday? We got up early, we got
Oh my
coffee,
gosh.
and we sat there and we were just having a blast watching the weirdness. And you know, I came home, my wife's like, you're both idiots, you know. It was fun, you know. But yeah, I mean, and actually to that point, that kind of scares me, and I'm sure it does y'all. If it becomes very difficult to get food, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like to point out
Yeah.
that video of that 7-Eleven in LA from last week that they stormed. You saw that video,
Oh,
right? That's what
yes.
the grocery stores will look like if it gets really bad. They'll do crap like that. Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
video is insane.
And what do? You can't. I mean, if you work for the store, you're not going to get in a fight for CVS.
Heck
There was
no.
a there
Stand
was an
back and let him go.
employee. That is 7-Eleven. I don't know. There was one employee in that store when that store got raided, and they said some guy was like throwing food at him and hitting him and everything else.
Oh
And
my
he was,
gosh.
yeah,
You know,
Mm.
and these street takeovers too that you see in LA,
that's what it was from. It was a street takeover, and the
and then they
7-Eleven
just
was right there, and it just went into the
Oh.
7-Eleven, and it was. Look up the video when we're done.
Yeah, I was
Seriously,
gonna say
y'all.
I haven't seen this one. I'm like, oh
It's
no.
it's it's a shadow of things to come in my mind, and I'm not trying to be.
Yeah.
I am not doom and gloom. Anyone who
no.
knows
Well, I'm
me
not
knows
either.
I'm
But
so far from doom and gloom. I am trying to be as positive as possible.
Mhm.
But that is what happened, and it's what could happen
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
future.
well, there's a difference between doom and gloom and, I mean, reality of things. Our world has changed in 2 years. It's going to
Mhm.
continue changing. We already know that things, on all kinds of fronts are not getting better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely not a doomer either. I'm like, well, let's sit
No,
back. Let's rationalize this for a minute. Let's think
right.
about it
And
clearly.
I also think you want to. It's a balance between being vigilant
Yeah.
and freaking out. You don't want to freak people out, and especially as content creators. I
Yeah.
don't know about you guys. I
Yeah.
feel I don't want to say something that might hurt someone unintentionally if I
Yeah.
can avoid it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you do need to be aware. I mean, that running into the 7-Eleven easily could happen anywhere. You could be in a corner store getting a coffee on a road trip, and
And
Any
yeah.
major metropolitan area.
Mhm.
I mean, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so now that you guys ladies have gotten the intro in, I'm gonna go into the next question, which I know people have pinged me on, and I'm sure they've pinged you on. How do you organize your preps? Like, do you have a methodology
Yes and
for
no. But I'll let you.
systemically?
Same. Yes and
Is
no.
it organized chaos? Go ahead. Apartment prepper, you start this one.
Okay. Well, I am in a one-bedroom apartment, for those who don't know, and I share that with my younger brother and my dog. It's a very small one-bedroom apartment. It doesn't really have a living room. It has a front door and a little hallway, and my bed is there. And then there's the kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. So it's really small. Hence, behind me, this is part of my pantry that everyone is constantly saying, "Cover up your props, don't show your props." And I'm like, if someone really wants it, fine, come get it. I'm not going there with that. But I have stuff all over the house. Again, it's an apartment. I have stuff behind me. I have stuff under my bed. I have stuff in closets. I have stuff in a bookshelf. I mean, just because I have to find this space, it's just where, if there's I did a short video showing different places, and I think it was called Stash It Everywhere. And I was showing even underneath, I don't have a sofa, but I have a couple of chairs.
Right.
Underneath that, I have stuff underneath those chairs that,
So basically it would be an Easter egg hunt. If someone broke in, they'd be like, holy crap, it's everywhere.
Oh yeah, they couldn't just go. No, they couldn't just go to one location. Even if they took everything here, I have stuff here. And I also have stuff offsite. And I learned this from Angry Pepper a couple years ago. I have a climate controlled storage unit. Mm-hmm. And that's where I have a bunch of stuff also. And I do that because too, I'm in an apartment, and if this place was to go up in flames, I wouldn't have to start entirely over with everything. And that's, again, not just food, that's everything. Now, if the world went crazy and someone had raided that, well, that's that. But at least it's, it's split up. I have stuff here and I have stuff there.
It's technically a cache. You just didn't bury it. You put it in a concrete building.
In an apartment, there's nowhere to bury a cache.
Yeah, no.
Can't really put it on the floorboards on the second floor. It's
there's a park across the street, but it's a very busy park, and everybody would see me, and that would be pointless. So
And then the police would be like, "What are you doing?"
Hey, lady.
Nothing. I live at the low income apartments. Don't you understand?
That's
Ask no questions. Keep move along, officer.
Officer be like, I don't even want to do paperwork.
They might not even say anything. They see so much. I mean, they'd be like, all right, whatever.
Nowadays, they don't stop for stuff unless you're probably murdering somebody.
As they say, they probably just make sure you weren't burying a body and keep moving.
Is anyone dead? Okay, you want to bury your cans? That's all
good. All right, whatever.
Oh man, that's funny. Okay, so Lucky, how about you? What's your method or madness, however you want to describe it?
Organizing. No one's ever actually asked me that. How do we organize? And I say I because I'm usually the one going, here's how it's going to be put together. And Mr.'s like, all right. His system was
this, sir.
Yeah. Well, his system was more. He's still kind of what I think of as like kind of the old school way of before we had the spreadsheets and doing everything on the computers. It was write it on a piece of paper on a clipboard, and you hang your clipboard on the rack or on your shelving unit. He's still kind of there. And I'm like, oh no, no, we don't do that anymore. So as far as how we have it organized, you mean like the physical preps on a shelf, or do you mean
like how
a
do you,
tally?
In other words, how do you keep it from
being chaos?
I do this, right? I'm like apartment prepper. I have gone from a very large house in Houston because of the cost of living out here, much smaller house, great cabinets, but now everything's spread out. Like my pantry is half the size of the other house. So I just know where stuff is. But for my wife, it's an Easter egg hunt if she wants the rotini, right? She's running around.
Well, that's a problem because everybody in the household needs to know where everything is now.
Yeah. Well, now she does because there was no rotini. But like, what's your methodology? Are you like rotating on a spreadsheet? Are you labeling, or
all of the above? So I kind of keep things grouped together. So we've got an area where there's almost all the food. For the most part, food is kept in one area. We do rotate it first in, first out, but it's first in, first out in as far as I go by expiration or best by dates. Let me say it, best by dates, because they don't put expirations on things necessarily. Right. So it's by best by date. So whatever's coming up first is what's going to be eaten first. So that's going to be at the front. I'd looked into those rotating can things. You know what I'm talking about? Where you look like soda. Thing. Yeah. Where
the
they
little
make
dispenser. The
dispenser type things. I looked into those and actually got some off Amazon at one point because I was trying to see if they held at least as much or more than just stacking the cans on top of one another. And for us, they're heavy, they were clunky. I didn't think I felt like it took up more space. And I think I actually measured and I counted how many cans fit in the same space because I'm a nerd like that. And I could actually get, I think, like 2 cans more just stacking it than by using the dispenser. So I personally didn't see a benefit in using that. Other people do. Great. Use it if it works for you. But yeah, we rotate it like that. So it is first in, first out, but it's by the best by dates. And that's usually how I advise people. What I suggest. Hello, puppy.
The puppy is
He
like,
ran
what
out
are you
my
people
brother's
doing?
bedroom door to me. So this is Max.
Hi, Max.
Max.
Hey, Max.
I'll tell you what, small dogs are the best alarm system ever.
Yes, they
Yeah,
are.
they are.
And, you know, I mean, my little potato, well, they're not little, they're big potatoes. I did not realize they were meant to herd cattle and chase
yeah.
goats. So they're amazingly brave to a point of their own detriment. So anything, UPS, Lucky's always putting the dog icons in my chats because all of a sudden out of nowhere, they all start barking and charge the front door.
It's not quite out of nowhere. I've almost figured out at what point during your live they're going to be doing it. And I'm like, it should be sometime about now. And like, within about 10,
That's
15
when
minutes.
UPS comes to
Yeah.
this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as far as myself, other than, you know, I'm doing it the same way. I don't have a spreadsheet, but I have oldest to the front, and I systemically am trying to use the preps as I go. So I'll go through and I'll pick sections. I've said this in some of my other videos. So I'll go through, say, pastas and pasta sauces and say, oh, this is going to expire. Pasta really doesn't expire unless you get bugs in it, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll say, oh, this spaghetti sauce, I got a month to use it. Tonight seems like a good night for spaghetti and meatballs, you know, and pull that out right then and there. Every now and then I'll get a couple of cans that are way past expiration that fell like into an abyss somehow. But I also have stashes in separate areas where it's in the case, and then I move it to the pantry when the pantry's done. I am using the little white Walmart racks. I don't know if you've seen those. So it's almost like a display looking rack, and you can put what, 3x3. So you could put 27 cans on this one little thing vertically, and I can sort them by type. I'll send you a picture of what I've got.
Yeah. Is it like a wire rack?
Yes, it's kind of like
I think
a wire
I tried
rack.
that, but it's the dispenser kind of thing where you put
Yeah,
cans at the
ish.
top and they pop out at the bottom.
No, it's
No.
different shelves. So
Oh.
I can do like green beans, corn, I don't know, baked beans, whatever.
Oh, like a pantry organizer type of thing?
Yes.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
And I found them on sale at the beginning of the Rona, and I looked at it and went, I'm going to buy all of these because I know I'm going to use them. Sure enough, by the end of the week, they were being used.
Pete's like, these are pertinent to my interest.
Yes, exactly. But
now,
yeah,
I will say that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Oh, as far as when you talk about spreadsheets, I did try using spreadsheets for a while, and I kept getting lost in those spreadsheets.
Yes.
Trying to keep it organized in an Excel spreadsheet. I do have one. I don't use it because I have it. I don't use it anymore because we actually do have that Prepper Nerd system. The reason we have it is because when he was doing the beta testing and before he was getting ready to launch his official system, he was looking for people to beta test, and I volunteered along with a lot of other folks. And so if you were in the beta testing, he was generous enough to allow us to keep that.
Oh, that's cool.
So I do have access to it. So we got a little bit of what's called a cheat there, but we do have access to that. Honestly, I haven't used it recently, but it's good. I'm not plugging because I get any kickback or anything. I'm just saying I do think it's a good system. If it's something anyone's curious about, look into it if you think that's up your alley. But it does a lot. But if it's something's not within your budget or your means, you can put together something somewhat similar, not nearly as powerful, but a basic framework like that on Excel.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to be super basic and not do all this stuff and the bells and the whistles that you get on that program, which is like, wow, okay. But yeah, you can do it in Excel. I do have an Excel sheet that I finally managed to get put together, but you do have to stay on top of it. I found that I did anyway, have to really stay on top of it and keep it current. Like you go take that can of green beans or a can of chicken or whatever bag of pasta off the shelf.
You
I'm
have
really
to go
bad.
and enter it. Yeah.
Yes, I have to go do it like right then or make a note, or I'll be like, oh, I'll do it later. No, I won't.
No, you'll forget.
No. It'd be like, hey, I'm supposed to have 10, for example, 10 bags of pasta and I only have 2. What happened? Oh,
Yeah.
I wonder.
I think the visual thing works for me well. Some people it doesn't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's like, who was it? Rogue Preparedness did an amazing video a few days ago talking about everybody does it differently, and that's okay. Everybody's journey is different, and that's
That's a
really
good way to
true.
think of it.
It's I always say that, and so when she did that video a couple days ago, I was really excited. But it's truly true. Everyone does it differently, and you know what? It's okay. It's there's not one way to do everything, and that's what I get really frustrated because you'll have some channels and be like, you have to do it this way or the highway, and you're not a prepper if you don't do it this way. And I just want to slap those
that
people.
agitates me to no end.
I can tell you that's been around forever.
I know.
There will always be people.
Yeah.
There's always been people who are like, you're not unless you do it this way or my way. And the only thing I can figure at this point is because that's the way that makes sense to them and they think is the best. My point of view is to say, same thing. Do it whatever way makes sense to you, what works best for you, because I'm not living at your house. You know what works for you in your household.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do it exactly. Yeah. How you organize things is everyone organizes so differently too. So
and you just have to do what works for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you know what else I found? The visual, you were referencing the visual method. It actually is very useful to me because the way I've had to do the storage, because it was a smaller house, I put my engineering hat on and I started like getting all sorts of shelving, but I can walk in and just look at certain areas of the house and go, okay, I need to replenish this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've all said it to our followers, pick a subject each week. Don't get crazy. Go, okay, I'm going to check my canned goods this week and spend 2 hours, go through all the canned goods. And I actually found about a dozen cans of various things that had just, something got out of order, which happens, and they were a month from expiration. I could still use them. I mean, they were good, but I collected them all. I brought them to the food mission at the church, and I know they're going to get used way before the expiration.
Exactly.
And I'm still in a position to get some more, and it's not going to hurt me. So, but yeah, everyone's style is different, and it is what works for you. So, on this question, so I guess it's 2A. Have you had to reload with your preps?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And if so, how unawesome was that?
That's
highly.
Oh, go ahead, Lucky.
No, you go ahead.
When I left Oklahoma and came to Utah last year, again, I had a very limited budget for my move, and I had to get rid of, I'd say 75% of everything I had food wise. And then some stuff I accidentally left there in my moving. But even just, I mainly brought, like, out of the food, I brought my canned meat. Mm-hmm. That was one thing I made sure to bring because I knew veggies would be cheaper to replenish than canned meat would. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of canned meat. I mean, I had Keystone, bought Keystone several years ago and things like that. And so I had box upon box upon box of all kinds of canned meat, which I've still said I've got canned meat probably until a year or two from now. I just have a lot of that. Wow. Yeah, I had a lot of canned. I told you, literally, think of a bedroom that just
was it canned, like you canned it in a mason jar, or like just
no. I'm talking like Keystone. Keystone,
okay. The good stuff.
Yeah, I had a lot of Keystone canned meat because I bought it when it's cheaper. I couldn't afford it now, I don't think. Yeah. But I personally don't do canning. There's a whole story behind that. I'm not against it. I'm just a little freaked out by it. So I personally don't can, but I think it's awesome. But canned meat, like store-bought, I had a bunch of that. And so I mainly brought that and then my other stuff with me. But yeah, it was, and I was the only one doing everything. My brother has special needs and he, bless his heart, watched the dog. So I did all the packing. I did all the moving. I did everything myself there and here. And so at one point when we left Oklahoma, I was just like, I'm done. I can't do anymore. And so stuff just got left. Oh. I was just like, I'm done. I can't do anymore. But the food I donated to a local food bank, and they were happy because they got more food probably from me than they'd gotten all year because it was a small town.
Well, that's awesome. So, it went to a good cause then. That wasn't just
awesome.
Yeah.
It's sad, but it's also awesome for them. I'm glad I was able to bless somebody else.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I
yes,
think that's a
Relo,
good way to
been there, done that.
for sure. So how about you, Lucky? What was
Oh
your
my
horror
gosh.
story of
Uh,
moving?
let's see here. I thought of a few things actually. So yeah, I had to start over as well whenever my first husband and I split. We split the preps and didn't get a whole lot out of that. But so I kind of had to start over from there. And then when I met my current husband, when I met Mr., and we got married and we were actually living on post. He was active duty at the time, so we were living on post at Fort Hood. And so we're in post housing with preps.
Oh wow.
And through a series of events, it's a long story that is completely irrelevant to what we're talking about today. He was getting out and he was MEB'd. For anyone who understands what that means, he was MEB'd. And they told us extremely last minute, like days before we had to be out, that we had to move, that we had to get out of
Oh,
housing. Yeah, like they told us on a Thursday, we had to be out Tuesday. I'm not, yeah,
that's awful.
yeah. So, and I was like, what? So my work was great. I was able to take off and packing 24, 24 hours just about. It was talk about, I was just like dead on my feet by the time Tuesday came because they have to come and, they have to come and like clear housing and which means they come
Have
and
to
make sure.
inspect it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we got past the inspection. We didn't have to clean, thank gosh, because he was considered, uh, whatever they called him at the time, he was going to be DV, disabled vet. So they said, okay, because he was in the warrior transition unit, is what they called it. The broke guys, is what they all joke. They were
Yeah.
all the broken dudes, right? It's what they call themselves. And so because of that, we did not have to clean, thank goodness, or I'd probably still be there cleaning it. But because you don't ever pass cleaning inspection.
No.
Never ever. And post housing is so nasty anyway. So anyway, so yeah, so we actually had a lot of stuff at the time. We had loads of canned stuff, and I actually hired a couple of people to help just to load a truck and move it to a storage facility in the interim while we were getting housing outside post set up. And we had a lot of stuff in a freezer, and there was like a month wait in between. We lost all the
Oh,
meat. We gave it to friends. For anyone who has followed the saga, you were there for the stream roaming on Kevin.
oh yeah.
We Yeah, they're the ones that we gave them all the meat. We're like,
A bunch of
we got,
goodies. Yeah.
yeah, those jerks. But anyway, but that was years before any of what currently happened. So anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, so we had to move with
The
all that
not fun
stuff.
person.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Right.
but anyhow, so yeah, so we had to move with all these cans and all this stuff. We had nowhere to put it, and then we're like, well, we could put it in storage, but it wasn't climate controlled, and we were like, I
Mm.
don't know, is it going to be safe? And there was just a lot of things we kind of not necessarily left, but we had to kind of give away because we couldn't take it into this. We stayed somewhere, we were like in a hotel for a month before our place was ready. It was just a big pain in the butt before
That
we could
does sound
finally.
like a mess. God.
It was a big mess. It was a big mess. So yeah, when I actually moved from San Antonio to Fort Hood, and I had much fewer preps, and of course when we got married, we had accumulated a lot more, and yeah, so we kind of had to reaccumulate. But yeah, it was a big pain in the butt moving with it.
Mhm.
I don't think it's ever a good time for anybody. I can't imagine. I was thinking the other day because we've actually looked at properties in other states and other areas, and aside from housing and land prices in general right now, which are crazy, I've
Yeah.
thought, man, I can't even imagine trying to move right now with our current setup. Pain in the
No.
butt would be, and yeah, I can't
Well, not
imagine.
even with your current setup, with the current market environment.
That's what I'm saying. The market aside and
Yeah.
property and all like the cost of things, that aside, I can't, I mean, trying to move, I mean, we have barrels of water, so I can't. I was like, I'm
Oh
not
wow.
dumping that out. Water's precious right now.
Yeah. No
That's the
kidding.
new currency. You want to barter, get some water.
Yeah. Well, especially out here, I got
Exactly. Yeah.
cactus and mesquite in my part of Texas. So,
Yeah.
which was a shock, by the way, going from Houston, which was basically a city built in the bayou.
Right.
And I'm out here, and it's like, that's a coyote running down the street. That's pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
And Yes, we have had coyotes run off with small dogs lately, which is not, they were
Oh, it
getting
happens in
desperate
San
because
Antonio
of
a
the
lot.
lack of rain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, when I
No,
was in Alaska, it was the bald eagles taking the small dogs that came off the tour ship. No,
oh my gosh.
seriously.
Oh my Lord.
Seriously. They would
I
tell
can't
them, they
even
would tell them
fathom
to
that.
make sure they would leash their dogs, and you get those rich people getting off the tour ships. They're like, oh, my dog's fine.
Uh-uh.
Saw it several times.
Wasn't
Never
that
forget
that
that.
goofy movie?
Oh my Lord.
That movie with Ryan Reynolds and what's her name, where they go and the eagle tries to take that little dog.
Oh, yeah, the one up in Alaska, which, well, wasn't
Yes.
in Alaska, but it's set in Alaska. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
that's
remember.
real. That's based on real stuff. That really does happen. Yeah, I lived in Alaska for 2 years, so.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. No, the Papillon would be toast. He only weighs like 10 pounds.
Oh yeah, he'd be somebody's be his
Yeah,
little snack.
mine's like 9 or 10 pounds too. So yeah.
yeah. 30, 35 pounds, that's maybe a bit much, but not 10 pounds now.
Oh man.
But okay.
Yeah, when I
So,
lived in San Antonio, they would get it was one summer, it was particularly hot before I left there and came up, to Fort Hood and all. And it was, oh gosh, what was it? It was like coyotes were coming. I forgot what area of San Antonio it was in, but they were going over the fence in the fence yards and getting the little dogs,
oh yeah, they can
Chihuahuas,
climb fences.
Dachshunds. Yeah, oh yeah, they did. And because there was a couple of stories, and one of them was it like went over the fence to get the little dog, and the little dog like ran or something, or it was yipping and trying to get away. And then around the corner came the pit bull that
Yeah, and
also
that was
lived in
the
the
end of
house.
the coyote. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah, it was
Yeah.
yeah. And another one, it was the same kind of thing that like went for a dachshund, and the dachshund was like, barking or whatever, and the German Shepherd came around the corner, and yeah, coyote took
Yeah.
off.
And then you come out and it's just a mess when a pit bull gets involved.
Oh yeah.
They're protecting their home. It's just a mess.
Well, any dog that's gonna, yeah.
My sister had a pit she had fostered and then she kept him,
Aw.
and a possum got into the house.
Uh-oh.
And of course, she didn't know it was there. And possums are just ugly and scary. They're not really dangerous.
I don't
But
know. Have you
she
seen
went,
their teeth?
Yeah,
well,
that's true. They're
she
cute.
went in the garage. She had just gotten separated. She had the kids with her. She had this big pile of boxes in the garage. I'm sure you can imagine the scene. And she
Mhm.
was looking for something, and it popped its head out and hissed. And she obviously screamed. And the pit bull, she said he came out and he didn't know where to go. Like he came out all puffed up and he's barking. And then
Aw.
he stopped and he's like, and then he realized what was in the box. And she said he dove into the boxes. It looked like a kid going into a ball pit.
Oh my gosh.
There was a fight. And she
Oh.
said, and then the possum exploded. And she was like, no.
Oh
She said,
no.
later and a can of paint to clean that.
Oh.
Aw.
And he was very proud of himself. He's
I'm
like,
sure he was.
You
he
protected.
came out his tail. He's like, Mom, I destroyed the enemy.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
love pit
gosh.
bulls. So
Have vanquished your foe. And, he's
I
looking
took
at the
care of it.
ball.
Got it. Found it. Found it.
It's no
that's
worries
awesome.
now. He won't
Oh
visit
my
no one
gosh.
anymore. Oh, man. So, okay. So we were talking about moving and organizing. This is another question I've gotten. I don't know if you guys have. Maximizing your space. Do you have any pointers, suggestions, tips? Because everyone's on a budget and a lot of people have had to downsize with the economy.
Yeah. Shelving, 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 shelving.
Yeah. I like shelving. And no, exactly. It's like I got shelving. But I've told a lot of people the shelving, watch what you're getting, because corners have been cut in so many areas now.
Yeah.
The quality just isn't there on a lot of things, as I think most people have realized, definitely in the last 6 months to a year. You know, make sure you're getting something that's decent quality. If you're going to pay the price for it, make sure you're going to get something of decent quality. I like shelving, the wire racks. I'm big on containers. I like plastic tubs of all shapes and
Me
sizes.
too.
I don't care if it matches or if it doesn't match. And I've actually got quite a few things from like Dollar Tree. Of course, it's not $1 anymore; it's $1.25. But
Dollar
yeah,
inflation
the
tree.
dollar
Yeah.
20 inflation. Yes, we've gone to inflation tree, and I've gotten
Yeah.
several things. And think outside the box a little bit on what things can be used for. Like I've got some like those little like for soda cans in the fridge, right? Where you stack the cans in there and you can pull them
Yeah.
out. I don't use them for sodas. I've actually got them in a rolling cart that's actually it's marketed as like a craft cart, but I got it, and we keep a lot of our medical things in that. Not
Nice.
everything, but a lot of it, things that we
Yeah.
might need to roll through the house or somewhere, you know.
That's an
And
interesting idea, actually.
yeah, and it actually does really well to kind of because I like things kind of corralled together and grouped together.
Hmm.
It just kind of makes sense to me. So it holds, a good number of boxes of Band-Aids. You can
Nice.
use like silverware trays, like the
Right.
individual trays from Dollar Tree to hold ointments, tubes of ointment to hold emergency shears if you've got EMT shears,
Mhm.
um, X-Acto knives. What, if you keep those in your whatever kit, you can put a whole lot of things in there, scissors, just all sorts of
Hmm.
things. So, and it keeps everything corralled within the little drawers on this craft cart.
Nice.
So,
I think I know exactly which one you're talking about because Sassy's Etsy, she has a cart that has the cricket thing that goes zzz, zzz, and it makes out designs. You know what I'm talking about.
mhm.
And you're just what you're describing. I'm picturing in my head. Like I think I know what that cart is,
Yeah,
but
a lot of people have
there may
probably
be
seen
one
it.
over
There's
here.
some that
Yeah.
have got like 12 drawers on them, and they're like really
Yep.
shallow, but this one's got 6. In fact, I really actually want another one, and I went to try and find it, and I can't find another one. So it may be forever out of stock. I have no idea, but I would really like another one, but can't find it.
Nice.
Haven't found what I want so far, but yeah, using I like trays and tubs and boxes and
Mhm.
Hmm.
plastic. I like plastic things to keep, especially if it's something that's liquid, because I've had things leak before. We've
Oh
had
yes.
things leak before, and it really, really helps to keep the mess
Yeah.
contained so you don't wind up having to clean your wall, your shelving unit, the things under, on the shelves underneath
Exactly.
it that it dripped onto, because it's such a pain in the ass. If you've ever
Mhm.
had that happen, like I'm sitting here looking at a tub with shampoos and conditioners in it because
Mhm.
I refuse to put those out on a shelf and God
Yeah.
God forbid one of them gets hot and explodes or something,
Yeah.
then you've got conditioner running down the shelving unit or soap or whatever.
Yeah. And there's some other things more caustic that you don't want uh,
Exactly.
leaking down and just. And do y'all separate food from things that you don't want near your food just
Yes.
as a
Yes.
precaution?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I know for me, in the bedroom we have it's not a walk-in closet, but it's a closet that's along the whole length of one of the shorter wall. And in there we have a few clothes, but most of the clothes are in shelves out in the bedroom. But we have like on one end I have all my medical and hygiene preps, and I have plastic tub upon plastic tub upon
Mhm.
plastic tub. On the other end, I have some one of those 5-gallon uh, food grade buckets, and some of those I have a few longer term food items and everything at the other end. So I have those completely separated.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but just yeah, I mean, the key is just to find what works for you. But plastic tubs, containers, you can see my dry goods get all put in containers in my pantry. Just because I did live in Oklahoma, and my house was clean, but it's Oklahoma. There's always bugs. Doesn't matter where you
Right.
are in Oklahoma. There's always bugs. And this, I learned to do this there, so I just do it here. Even though in Utah, I mean, I haven't seen a bug, so I haven't seen one since I've been here, which is great. But I'm just not used to that. But I still do this, and it just keeps anything, pretty much protected and organized.
Yeah.
So I like that.
That's what best. Like keep it all corralled together. I've got
Yep.
you can find all kinds. Yeah, I'm just really big on containers just because I found that's what works for us. And then I
Mhm.
tend to put labels on the containers so we can see at a glance,
Yeah.
stick your head in a room or you're looking for something particular, especially if, especially with medical things, if you're looking for something in a hurry, if you're looking for something quick, maybe something's happened and you're like, oh crap, where is this? I need it right now. You need to be
Mhm.
able to spot it quickly instead of thinking, okay, now which drawer did I put this in? Let me dig around and find it,
Yeah.
you know? So I try and label the outside.
Mhm.
I've found some really nice containers in craft sections at stores. So I like Walmart craft section, anywhere
Yeah.
inexpensive, all about something inexpensive.
And you touch on something there, Lucky, and both of you did. A lot of people gravitate to Target, which is very expensive for the
Mhm.
product type.
Yeah, it is.
That's more a I know it sounds terrible, like a bougie store
I was
as
about to say it's
opposed
a
to,
bougie Walmart.
but yeah, basically, as opposed to Walmart, but Walmart can be chaos.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan, but like the
Yeah.
dollar inflation tree and what's the other one? Not Best Buy, Big Lots.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
haven't been in a
Lots,
Big Lots in a long time.
or
Yeah.
lots
even the
usually has
back,
good stuff.
and look for sales. Like you go to Michael's or
Clearance.
Hobby Lobby, look
Mhm.
Mhm.
stuff they're trying to access, and I find all sorts of goodies. I found a bunch of emergency candles in a Hobby Lobby. I got dragged to, and Sassy ran off one way, and I was like, I'm gonna go play with stuff because that's what I do there. And I found a bunch of little tea light candles, but a pile of them on sale. So I
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
sometimes you can find things in places that were unexpected. Like, oh, I didn't know they had this, and maybe they didn't, and it didn't sell very well, so now they're trying to clearance it out and get rid of it.
But don't
yeah,
forget your secondhand stores.
yes,
Yeah,
Don't forget
yeah.
your secondhand stores. That's
and
since I
antique
moved into
stores.
this,
Yeah,
yeah, since
Estate
moving into
sales.
this apartment, most of the stuff in my kitchen has come from like Salvation Army and stuff like that.
that's a perfectly good place to get it. If it works, it works.
It works, so that's, and it's a lot cheaper
Yeah.
usually.
Mad Shad
Mhm.
mentioned Ace Hardware, which is actually the Ace Hardware here has a really good variety compared to the one I had in Houston. Surprisingly, the one out in the country is massive.
That
But
makes
yeah,
sense. Country folk need their Ace Hardware.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you. I found canning supplies there. I have a room limitation. I don't know where to put the canner
I was about to say Ace Hardware is actually people don't think of it for canning supplies. Yeah.
and pet food.
Oh,
That
I
I didn't
didn't.
think of.
Oh, pet food I didn't think of. Although with
I didn't
our
think of pet food for them, but I knew canning supplies. Yeah.
yeah.
So, well, cool. That actually brings us to the next question. Uh, do you favor one type of storage over others? I know Lucky was
Mm.
just kind of talking about containers. Uh, I don't know. I forgot who goes first, so y'all feel free. Free
Fight it
fall.
out.
All good.
You can go, Lucky.
um, I don't favor any one type over another for storage as far as like storing food and things. I see you got Mylar versus jars, etc. I think it's important, at least for what we're doing. I like having layers, different different things. I think it's easy. In fact, it was actually somewhat recently I saw there was a person on another social media platform who was asking questions about preparedness, and this person seemed to be kind of be caught in this idea or this mode of wanting to can everything, and to the point where they didn't seem to understand there were some things you can't can, or you really should not. It'd be a very, very bad idea to can. And I think sometimes maybe some people kind of get caught up. Canning is great. Mylar bags are great. Dehydrating, but I think you need to have I think it's important to have a variety and to have
Yeah.
layers of that. Just like you have layers in your length of preps, right? You've got your everyday stuff
Yeah.
you're eating all the time, your fresh produce, what have you. You got your frozen, you've got your canned goods that are good for and jarred goods that are good for like 1, 2, 3 years. Then maybe you may have long-term stuff, which is good 10, 15, 20, 25 plus years. It's all about layers in my
Yeah.
mind anyway. And I know not everybody is at that in their journey, but that's kind of where we are. We've got dehydrated, we don't have freeze dried. I would love a freeze dryer. If anybody wants to give me one, feel free. Um, I accept donations. But we looked at one, but man, yeah. So
That's a
we,
budget buy. Like
oh
you
my
have to
gosh.
budget that kind of stuff out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We thought about it, but anyway, yeah, we don't have a freeze dryer. We have some freeze dried food,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so the freeze dried stuff, your dehydrated, canned, home canned, your wet pack foods that you buy from the store, like your canned beans, meats, things like that. Just for us, it's about layers. I don't have any one particular method of storing food that I prefer over any other. Just depends on what it is and what I plan to do with it and how long I want to keep it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm basically the same way. There are some things I use Mylar bags for, and there's some things I don't. There's some things I have vacuum sealed, and there's other things I don't.
Mhm.
And I'm not canning. I will at some point, but it's not a part of my life right now. I would like to do canning, but yeah, I don't have a dehydrator, so I don't dehydrate. I do have some long-term freeze dry. Like I got some August and farms and things like that. But
Right.
for me, for what I do, and I think I was talking to Prepping by Faith about this. The only things I put in Mylar bags, and this might make people panic for some reason, but the only thing I put Mylar bag in personally is flour, oatmeal, and sugar. That's it. I don't put anything else in. And then of course sugar, no oxygen absorber. But that's really the things that I think the bugs can get into if they're in there a long time. I do that with, like, because I've had experience in the past with, before I was prepping, with the bugs and the sugar and the flour, and that just grosses me out. So I put those in Mylar bags, and then I put them in the 5-gallon bucket. I have some beans in Mylar bags, but most of the beans I just throw the bags in a 5-gallon bucket. I vacuum seal meat in the freezer. That's the only stuff I really vacuum seal. Most of my preps they're not long term. My long-term stuff is my few Augustin and things like that. Most everything I have is this type of stuff because I'm starting over again. So mine's 2 to 5 years. And
Right.
even with my pasta is in its regular packaging, but it's in a container with bay leaves. So it's what works for you, where you are in the country can affect how you do that stuff like that too.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
availability, your environment.
Exactly. And
Climate's
so,
going to affect it a lot. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
you're going to prep differently in West Texas versus Southern Louisiana.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or Miami, Florida,
But most of my stuff is, like we talked about, containers, bay leaves. I have bay leaves shoved in all these just out of habit. I throw in a few bay leaves and,
It's funny you both mentioned layers because when we relocated, the company relocated us, and they're like, well, we don't take food. And I gave, they subcontracted to this moving company, and I like gave the guy $50. I'm like, all that booze and all that food need to go. And he's like, what booze and food? And magically it appeared at the new house.
Exactly. That's how you do
actually,
it.
yeah, I'm like,
I can tell you were in the military. Know how this game works. Hold
yeah,
on.
we know how this works. Thank you. Yeah, but I actually had a pile of mason jars and I had no canner, and I realized, well, I'll just put pasta. So I had the food saver, that little hoo-ha that goes on the lid.
I have
and I
that.
just pull vacuums on all this
Those are
stuff.
awesome.
So I do have a question for you. How did you put flour in a Mylar bag and not? Oh, are you just putting an oxygen absorber in it? You're not using the food saver to pull a vacuum as well?
No, I pour the flour in, throw in the oxygen absorber, and then seal it with my hot iron.
And that's it.
With my hair hot iron. That's
So
all I do.
I'm the one who's getting overly.
So you're the one vacuuming out the flour.
Yeah, so I cut little strips of the bag, and then I can, because for pasta works great. It basically makes it a solid.
I know a lot of people put pasta in Mylar bags, but again, I only do Mylar if I'm thinking longer than 3 years.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? For me.
No, it does.
That's just me.
I would agree with that too.
I agree.
Because Mylar bags, y'all, I'm low income, I'm disabled, I'm on a very, very limited income. So my Mylar bags have to stretch. And so I can't put everything in it. But Mylar bags, a lot of people do put pasta in it. And a lot of people vacuum seal pasta. But I've heard that the vacuum sealing bags with pasta get poked through more than the Mylar.
You have to be careful.
Yeah. I had to use elbow macaroni. I found that out the hard way. I used something pokey. I don't know if that's a word, but
I've eaten
just
pasta.
Destroyed the bag. Yeah.
I've eaten pasta 2-3 years later that's just been like, I haven't, and it's fine.
I think it really depends on your environment. I think if you're in an environment that's maybe really humid, or if your cardboard boxes or the packaging gets damp in some way. I've personally had experience where pasta and things like crackers and all, I've talked about a lot, will absorb the taste of the cardboard, the glue from the cardboard. And then
that makes sense.
But it depends on where you are in the country too, where you're living, your environment. So that's something to take into consideration. If it's not an issue where you are, then I'd be the same way.
When I lived
it'll last a long time in the box.
Oh yeah. When I lived in Oklahoma, I took everything out of the box and put it in like the freezer style Ziploc bags and sucked the air out of it just the best I could and rolled it up and like stuck it in a 5-gallon bag. That's what I did there for room's sake, and just, and that works for me there. Here, I still have a few things in boxes because I don't have a lot right now. Again, I'm starting over. So, I mean, I only have like 45 bags of pasta. Okay.
Is that all?
That's all.
I think you'll be fine.
I know.
I don't know. I think she needs at least A few,
You
We
need
won't
some
talk
just,
about how much.
just
we
one
won't-
more, just one
We
more.
won't talk about how much rice I have for 2 people. I think we're good for a couple of years. But again, most of that though is in my storage unit. So
Yeah.
in Mylar bags in 5-gallon buckets with
And
oxygen.
did you guys find it hard when you moved and then you're starting over and you're looking at all this going, what the hell did I have at the other house? And it's a little bit harder. I kind of put it on steroids, like you all said in 2020. But now I've gotten to the point I'll look at stuff and go, what was I gonna get? And I'll just, has anyone else had like
My
prepper haze or
frustration,
something where you just
my frustration is going, I have that. It's in storage. And then I'll take the bus to storage because I don't have a car. And I'll get over there and go, oh, no, wait a second. That got left in my
oh no.
I did have that, but now I
I
don't.
did have that, so
Yeah.
that's happened to me a few times. And I'm like, don't. So, yeah.
You know, that might be a good reason, a good excuse to go to the storage and inventory that and have that sheet somewhere in the house before you make the trip.
I
Yeah.
did it. Last time I was there, I inventoried it.
You
I
did.
don't have a whole lot there anymore. I mean, I have like a third kind of everything I have, but it's just, yeah. And because I don't have a lot anymore, I'm not nearly as prepped as most people because I had to start over. Some of the people in the chat know. I don't know if y'all, Lucky Dame probably doesn't know. And I don't think you know, Roaming. I was homeless for 6 months when I first moved out here. I had to live out of my storage unit. I didn't sleep there, but it was my home for everything else. So,
Right.
So again, when I moved into this apartment in January is when I really was able to start re-prepping, so to speak. I mean, I did some prepping when I was homeless, but when you're living in your car and living out of a storage unit,
that makes the shelving unit really hard. Yeah.
And, and again, you don't have any money and stuff like that. So it's, there was just, there was a, that wasn't how things were supposed to go when I moved out here, but things happen. And that's what
it happens. What happens when you're making other plans.
I love that lyric. Great lyric from Beautiful Boy.
And it's funny when you think about it is, SHTF doesn't have to be, zombies and the Cloverfield monster, whatever the hell that thing was called, running up and down the street, It's what was that anyway?
I know what it is. I didn't watch
an alien.
Cloverfield.
It was
aliens.
Alien thing,
yeah.
But it could be getting laid off. God forbid someone in the family gets put in the hospital in an accident. All of a sudden you now have an SHTF, but it's a personal one.
Right. And that happened for me last year. And I sold my shotgun and all my ammunition. I sold all my silver coins because we had to have money to live on after our money ran out. So, so I've had that stuff and I'm glad I had it. So people who are like, you can't eat silver. Actually,
well, it's the right economy for it. You can.
I had a whole argument with someone on another platform because they're like, you can't use it at Walmart. No, dingy. That if you get the silver that's minted by the U.S. Mint or the Canadian Mint, you go to an exchange and you get the currency you need. And they didn't get it, so I gave up.
You can't use your Chinese or Australian silver there, but you can.
No, for sure. That's the truth.
But you can sell those to the local shop, to the local silver store.
Yeah, or to another person who may.
To another prepper.
Yeah. So so we're at the fourth question. We're just a hair under an hour, so I'm going to open it up to the chat and use all caps for your questions, ladies and gentlemen. You have two great prepper minds here. And not including me because I'm the psychopath. So by all means, ask away. What are your questions? Relocating, storage. We've covered a lot of topics about functional prepping, which is great. Because the doom and gloom is, you need to be aware because it'll affect what's available.
I saw something scroll past a minute ago. I think Dragonflies was saying something about space was an issue.
Let me see. Dragonflies.
And there's all kinds of stuff that can be. I'm trying to scroll back up. I think it was Dragonflies. If it wasn't,
for those of you who didn't realize this, Lucky's also one of my mods. So we've been both trying to watch the You Will Need Weapons and Silver Soon.
I gave up trying to watch the chat too. I was like, I can't multitask today. I'm sorry. And I see Shad's here, and there's other folks. So
they're making jokes in the chat, but
Someone had asked about, said
Uh,
space itself was a concern, and I totally get
I
that. Going
moved my.
from, when we were trying to prep, living in post housing, which
Oh
was a
wow,
duplex, which was not
that's
any kind of
interesting.
grandiose space, I can tell you that.
Mad Shad, everyone's favorite Marine. I moved from Myrtle Beach to Cleveland with close to 5 years of food and other stuff. Filled up a 20-foot U-Haul. I
That
believe it.
I
Oh,
believe it.
yeah, I believe that.
And Oz, I know the feeling after the Feb flood. Yeah,
Trying to
and
play
and
catch up.
that's another
Yeah.
thing. You have to be able to recover from a flood, a tornado, whatever. Mountain
Because
grandma.
that
Oh
will throw
man,
a wrench in
moving.
everything you're doing, and you will have to use some of your preps. And
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
see if we get.
thank God you have them, right?
Oh, I just saw a question go by.
I'm seeing a couple of questions, and they're
Okay, let's
not
start
necessarily
here.
related to space. Yeah.
Yeah, looking for solar powered water distiller. Ooh,
A solar powered water
I know
distiller.
nothing about that. Sorry.
I'm trying to find just a decent water distill. I mean, I know you can make a water
like a filter.
distillation, but yeah, well, you can buy countertop water distillers because we use water distiller for some of Mister's equipment. But a solar powered one, that would, I'd be interested in seeing that if that exists or if one can be
If
cobbled
anyone,
up.
okay, that one stumped the experts here. So if anyone in the chat has some info,
Far from an expert,
I
but
am
thank you.
no expert.
Appreciate the vote of confidence.
so okay, Matt Chad, great question.
Oh,
How do you bunker in, harden your home apartment? I guess also in the same token, make it less appealing to want to investigate your apartment. What are your
zombies
thoughts?
inside on the front
That's
door.
easy for me. I live in a really ugly, low income apartment. Pretty much everyone assumes there's nothing here. The whole building is known to be low income, and those people have nothing. So I'm good. Joking aside, though,
Blend in, yeah.
I do have ways to protect it and fortify it. I mean, the stuff for the door to keep the door closed, and there's things to do. But my building is a key fob building. I'm on the 5th floor. By the time anyone gets to me, they're going to be out of wind. I mean, it's and those stairs are steep too. They're not like
Oh yeah.
they're steep stairs. This is an old hospital.
Say it's the old. Oh,
It's an old hospital. So imagine a
yeah,
hospital built in the 30s, and this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's where
worked in a city building
with those
going,
shallow steps.
which
Yeah,
used to be a fallout shelter in New
yeah,
York. And yeah, I remember those steps.
yeah.
You
So
were going
it's
down the wrong way, down you went.
yeah.
yeah. So it's not. That's the one thing I do like about my current location is if something does happen, it's going to be really difficult, even for the fittest people, to get up to where I am if the elevators aren't working.
But if
So
you needed to flee, I guess you'd be going with gravity. So
I would say it's easier to go downstairs than to haul everything up.
yes, yes, and yeah, being on the 5th floor too, it is in itself its own type of protection. I
yeah.
wouldn't, I
And
wouldn't want to look.
actually, you're plenty far from flooding and rioting that
Yeah,
high up.
I
Yeah.
am too because I'm on the edge of town. I'm not right near downtown. I'm kind of out on the edge of town by the mountains. So
Well,
it
that's good.
yeah. So I mean, it's still in town, but it's not quite near everything. So, but yeah, yeah, 5th floor, steep stairs. That's a big part of my key fob, like I said, key fob entry. So
How about you, Lucky? You want to take a whack at this
So yeah,
question?
we're in a house and we're in kind of, I always say, a rural-ish type area. How to bunker in and harden your home. I go back to layers. We're trying to
Mhm.
deter people from coming up the driveway, approaching the house, putting different layers of defenses out. And Chad, you probably already know this.
Yeah.
You got your dog. Pets can be a layer, some kind of an alarm system, fence. If you got a gate, that's another layer. Things that will slow people down or kind of deter them. This is Texas. We've got a ditch full of these big old prickly pear cactus.
Oh
there
yeah,
you
Have
that
you
go.
seen the spines? That's a deterrent. That deters me, right? I don't want to go anywhere near. It's like I'm not mowing that. It'll just have to be there. Having that kind of plants out like that, things that will prickly bushes, plants, things,
yeah,
plant them around your home. If
Lots of lighting.
yeah, lots of lighting, exactly. Security lights or floodlights, whatever you want to call it, motion sensing lights. And you can get those that are solar powered as well. They don't have
that's
to
what
be
I
wired
have in
into the
front of
home.
my house. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I
Solar
have
powered
rose
ones.
bushes, very nice thorny ones. So
Oh yeah. And the older they get, the bigger those thorns are, man, too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be a cactus, but we've got some here, so make use of
Although
the
cactus and mesquite bushes do a very effective job of
yeah.
keeping people out.
Yeah, I
If
wouldn't
you've
go
ever
near it.
fallen into one, you will know.
That's what I'm saying. It's like we have more prickly pear cactus in the ditch this year. I was like, "Oh, it's spread. I'm not getting near that. That looks painful."
You will not
So,
be touching this thing.
yeah, yeah, and at the same time, I was like, "Can we relocate that closer to the house?" But
So,
yeah, layers like that. Yeah, exactly, Shad. Ouch.
ouch.
Yeah.
Okay, Christina had, what are some techniques you have in mind to meet back up with relatives if comms go down, say electrical outage?
I know for me, my brother and I have worked on plans because a few months ago I did a post about what happens if the building catches on fire and I'm out and he's at home, and I realized I didn't have that worked out with him being special needs. So we have that's been one thing I've been working on is what to do if I'm not around and something happens, where to go, what to do, and we've been working on that.
Mhm.
It's not perfect yet, but we're working on it. So I don't, techniques. I know it seems like a lame answer, but it's my answer for everything. Find what works for you and your family.
Yeah,
Well, no, but that's a process in itself too. It's finding
right.
what's going to work for you. It really is, and
Yeah.
everyone's going to be slightly different.
Yeah, and the three of us are in very different locations with
Mhm.
very different demographics, different
Everyone
geography.
everyone's home, your
Mhm.
personal relationships are going to be different. No one is the same. So what's going to work for you, Pete, and your family isn't necessarily going to work for me and my husband. Same
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
you apartment prepper and your brother. It's everyone's going to have you. We're all just different animals.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Christina, one thing we did in Houston because we kept getting hit by her. Apparently, we were a hurricane magnet the last 5 years I lived there.
Yeah.
Uh, I had my kids were older; they were high school, teenager, junior high. I told them, "Look, you guys, everybody had a get home bag suitable for the high school that they wouldn't get in trouble. You grab your bag, and if you can't drive home, you walk home. If you cannot make it home in 2 hours, I need you to go to the Panera on this street because
Mm-hmm.
I know it's open, I know it's high ground, and you meet there and get your siblings together, and then you travel home as a group with your friends." And we actually had to do that once, and it was just a generic blackout. They closed the school, and they got separated, and the kids all met at the Panera, and then they
Nice.
never came home because they were screwing off at Panera. But at least they found each other, so I guess it was
well, it
good.
was a good meeting spot.
Yeah, we're like, where the hell are
You
they? And
got
I
part of
drove
it,
there.
right?
Panera.
Well, one of the kids worked there, and so he's like, "Oh,
Oh,
they have cookies, and it's black." And the
oh,
manager's like, "Yeah, you guys can have the cookies." So they were sitting there like idiots eating cookies. But
I wouldn't have gotten home either.
yeah.
yeah,
I'm like, well, that's completely, yeah,
yeah. And then they were
understandable.
full of caffeine and sugar, and that was awful.
Caffeine and
But
cookies. That's all you need. Right? That's all I needed when I was 20. So forget it. Man.
but let's see. Do we have any other questions, folks? I may have missed a few, so I'm trying to scroll through the chat in some kind of. Hey, Amber, welcome. In some coherent fashion here. Did I miss any, Lucky? I'm trying to look here and see.
Not looking. Let's see. Let me go back over.
Let's do some of my. Oh, that's interesting.
Let's
So
see.
Klingon Princess shared. She lives in a studio apartment and has a friend who's, I'm assuming, on board with the preparedness thing, which goes to apartment prepper having an alternate location, which is something I really need to think about too. And you wouldn't need a lot of space either. You could get like the smallest, what is it, like 5 by 5
See, I have to
little unit.
downsize because I have the same storage unit from when I moved here and had all my stuff in it, and
Oh, yeah.
it's a 10 by 10. And trust me, I need to get just the 5 by 5. It's just
Mhm.
going and doing it.
Yeah, and that's not a bad place to have an extra get home bag.
Oh, I do. I have extra bags there. I have extra clothing. I have extra medical stuff, extra
Mhm.
hygiene, extra food. Like I said, if something did happen to me here, I don't have to completely start over. I even
Yeah,
have extra dog stuff there. So
that's always a good idea too. Don't forget your pets, folks. Remember. Um, Anyone else? I'm not seeing
Moonsprout's asking if you're going to the meetup that Nunya's having.
the meetup where.
Nunya on back up.
Oh,
Nunya's in East Texas.
Okay.
So
No,
over,
that's this weekend, isn't it?
oh, I
No.
have no idea because I was like, oh, but that's several hours for me still.
Yeah, that's a half day drive for me,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Uh,
I will be in that neck of the woods in the near future, but for other reasons. Apparently, we're adding to the pack of potatoes in the house. So I received a picture of this little angry puppy, and it's going, "We're
aw,
going to go pick up a puppy next weekend." Okay. So
you're getting another puppy?
I'm getting another puppy.
Are they gonna be okay with that? Have you talked to your
Well,
current puppies about this?
the alpha is very maternal. She keeps trying to steal my neighbor's puppy.
Oh,
Oh,
When we take the puppy away, she looks at me and goes, "Mm," like that. I was playing with the
she's got something to
puppy.
say about it.
Yes,
so she'll be happy.
yeah. So she'll be the surrogate mom. I don't know about the other two because she'll beat them up and run them off anyway. So Alpha, she will be coming with us. Luna will be coming with us on the trip so that she can bond with the puppy on the way home,
Good, good,
which is
good.
what we've done before, and it worked very well. Oh, LG, how often do you practice using preparedness tools and systems? Good question.
Is that code for how often do you go to the range?
Or how do you test your gear? Like check your flashlights, use your Coleman stove. I guess is what LG's trying to ask.
Let's see. We used our butane stove in last February. It got quite a workout during the freeze.
Oh,
A
no
lot of our
doubt.
stuff got a workout during the freeze.
Right?
Um, as far as checking bags and checking flashlights and things like that, we do it pretty regularly, actually. I go through my bag at least once a month just to check it just because the weather's weird here and because it's been so hot. So I always try and keep the bag updated with, whatever's going on. Or if the weather suddenly changes, like we're not blazing hot in the hundreds anymore right now. We're gonna only be in the
That's
low
good.
90s.
Woohoo.
But
We're about 90 out here, 87 now.
yeah, we try and keep our bags at least pretty current because they go with us everywhere. If anything were to happen, we both need our bags because we have different
Yeah.
things in them. Um, as far as range time, we go as often as we can. But it's like I guess I'm kind of like, well, what specifically are we asking about? Because I mean, we
So
we
yeah,
check and recheck
LG
things quite a
said
bit. I'm not sure what
yeah,
exactly.
LG said all of the above. So like,
All of the above. Okay.
Well,
so go
I
ahead, Martin.
I don't go to the range. Don't have that capability right now. So sadly, but with everything else, my butane stove, I've used it a few times since I've been in the apartment. Um, and if you have an apartment that says you're not supposed to have stuff like that, just you know what? I told somebody I didn't ask for permission. I have it. So better say you're sorry for having something than telling you no up front because some apartments you can't. So that said, but like my yeah, I forget it. My my solar bank, power bank. I've
Yeah.
used that a couple times. We had power outage, uh, windstorm come through last month, I think it was, and I used that with my fridge and a few things. And I try to use everything at least twice a year if I'm not using it for an emergency situation.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
with my flashlights and stuff like that, my mom drilled it to my head years ago that we always check the batteries when it changed like daylight savings time and that stuff. When we moved forward, moved back, we always check the batteries. That was just something she
Right.
did, and so it's just how I grew up, and that's what we do.
My husband does that too. When the time changes, he'll check things like that. Um, yeah, I guess we don't have like a set schedule of we do this at this time of the year or every so many months and all. The bags are the first thing I think of because we do go through those pretty regularly
Right.
because they do go with us everywhere. Medical stuff, we've got the kit that goes with us in the car, depending on, there's one that stays in the car, and then there's a bigger one that we take if we're going on trips somewhere that's, more extensive. Um, as far as equipment like the stoves, the propane stoves, generator, butane stove. Actually with that I'm still so burnt from from 2000 from
2020.
yes from the dang freeze of 21. I don't ever want to
Oh
see
yeah.
that one again. But um, we don't have a set schedule on it, but we do try and look at everything. I would guesstimate probably at least 2 or 3 times a year if we're not actively using it. One of us will say, "Hey, you know what? Because we we talk about this all the time. This is our life. So it's like, hey, what do we need to get? What do we need to look at? Oh, you know what I was thinking the other day? We haven't done this in a while. We need to pull this out and make sure it's still good. Doesn't need any repairs. How's our tent? How's our sleeping bags? How's this, that, the other? So I guess that's why I was probably asking, was there something specific? As far as all of the above, we try and go through it as we think about it. And we try and sit down at certain points and say, okay, what have we not looked at in a while?
Yeah.
So.
And LG, yeah, somebody recommended, I missed who it was, daylight savings when we switch hours. You check your fire and smoke alarms. That's a good time. Check your batteries. Well, I do a lot of events with my company, and so we've wound up out, working like the beverage tent or giveaway tent at, say, a golf tournament, or we go, meet people at some other location. And I've actually brought the baby jackery and a solar panel to charge everyone's phone. I actually did a live the other day. I plugged everything into the jackery.
Nice.
And then I was looking at it to see, okay, if it dies, then everything will go whoop, and that'll be the end of the video. But as far as pews, I'm like my dad. He said he was beginning a bluefish season and the beginning of fluke season, which was in his calendar in his head because he was a fisherman. So I do kind of like twice a year. If I haven't shot one of the pews, it gets pulled out and I tear it down completely, put it back together. But I pick a different thing each weekend to decide, okay, I did cans. I haven't opened that, like Lucky was saying, I haven't opened this closet in a while. Let me go in there and get that organized and see what I have.
Yeah. Or like I'll think of random things, things I'm always like, oh, we always think food, water, maybe camp stove, fuel, medical. And then all of a sudden I'll be sitting here and I'll think, because what a lot of people may not realize, I work from home, so I'm here all day long. I was about to say all damn day, but I am.
That's
I'm here.
not wrong.
I'm here all day long. So even, between doing things at work, I keep a pad of paper next to my laptop and I'm writing stuff down, like as I think of it, like, oh yeah, this. And I'll be sitting here, I'll walk around, I'll be like, you know what? We need to check our masks. Our gas masks. I'm like, hey, let me and I don't want to say let me look at the filters because I know where the filters are and I know what the expiration is on them and they're good. But things like that, like, oh, hey, this, or hey, that, hey, where's your stuff? Or I'll ask my husband, hey, where's your thing? Because he keeps his stuff. I'm the organized one. Don't tell him I said that. I say, hey, where's X, Y, and Z? And he'd be like, I'm like, go get it. We need to, let's stay organized.
All right, Mountain Grandma, thanks for joining us. So any other questions from the chat? And we'll give them a couple of minutes. So, by the way, Lucky, I did find out that my new shooting range has tactical bays.
Oh, yeah?
And one of my colleagues is the VP of the organization. So I was like, what can I shoot there? He said, no 12 gauges. You have to use this area. Other than that, have fun. Don't kill yourself. Awesome. So
go shoot all the rocks.
Yeah. Well, they have targets and everything. So, but I'll tell you what, shooting in 105 weather.
Yeah, I know.
After about 10 minutes, you start realizing your vision starts to you start to diminish.
Oh, wow.
In your, and I've never really thought about that. How, think if you're hiking home and as opposed to 85, it's 104. That's going to take you a lot longer. So I don't think.
Indigo, are you trolling? Sorry, I didn't mean to take over your stream. So yeah, how to drink
ocean water.
It's called desalination.
You have to desalinate.
Yeah, if you have a desalination machine or way to desalinate the water, you can drink it.
Yeah, you'd have to boil it off. Actually, you could boil it off and use.
Yeah, you can distill it.
Multiple pots and pans. You'd need, a hose. Yeah. You'd need a funnel and hose. It'd basically be a distillery, a small distillery.
And live near the ocean.
Yeah, and live near an ocean, which I do not.
Otherwise, if it's fresh water, you need to filter it and purify it.
I have camouflage tarantulas out here, so yeah.
Better you than us.
Those, yeah, no.
Yeah, we just got black widows and scorpions.
Yeah, we get black widows too, but I've never seen one.
Oh, we
No,
have.
my cat brought me a tarantula. I mean, the thing was like the
Oh my
size of a
lord!
softball. It
It
was
didn't carry the
quite
cat
big.
in.
No, the cat brought it in and dropped it at my feet. And he goes, "Behold what I have
Ta-da!
done."
Hey, at least it didn't crawl across your hand while you were sleeping.
No, that would
That
Oh.
suck.
happened to me in Arkansas.
Mm.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it jumped and I jumped. We were scared of each other.
When
Yeah.
you startle each other, it's always.
Yeah.
I came across the what past the front door one day. This has been a couple of years ago, and I saw something. I thought, "What is that?" It was a baby tarantula in the entryway, in the hallway, in the house. I'm like, "Oh no, you got
No,
to go."
no.
You, wrong, 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 wrong.
You have gone the wrong direction.
Yeah, let me escort you outside, ma'am.
And you may depart.
Yeah,
And we found this scorpion when we first moved into the house, a little itty bitty one like that.
that's the one you
That's
got to
on
watch for.
Sassy's blouse.
Oh my gosh!
And
While she
beautiful
was
little
wearing it.
camouflage. No, she pulled it out of the closet. We had just
Oh my
moved in,
lord!
so our boxes had been on the floor,
Mm.
and we were in and out. And I don't know, the previous owner didn't treat for critters, and we're like, "Oh, behold, the scorpion!" I see her tearing out of the room, and so I collected him, and he went and actually went into my neighbor's yard. Here,
Mm,
go to the flower beds, be gone.
no,
But yeah,
I
no.
had one that came in on my jeans leg one day from outside and seemed a bit
Oh,
stunned. And it was like, oh my, it was even more stunned when I crushed it.
oof.
And then there was one, I went in the bedroom one day and I saw something on the ceiling. I was like, what is that? I thought, oh no, is that like a water spot? Is water leaked in from the and it's no, it was a scorpion on the ceiling.
Uh,
And
not cool.
and they'll drop. They will drop. So
Yeah, if you mess with him, they bloop.
yeah. So
So
Mr. took his cane and went boop and yeah.
be gone.
Bye
Yeah,
bye,
pretty much.
scorpion.
So LG, this is a good one, and we'll this will be the last question for
Okay.
tonight. But do you ever do practice emergency drills, blackout, fire, even tabletop? I guess.
Um, I guess I would call it tabletop with us. We talk it out, we're on the same page, and I also we keep a binder with what to do kind of thing. My husband and I are almost always together because he's disabled. So I'm usually the one driving and taking us places and going and doing things. Sometimes we're not together. I'm off doing something or at an appointment, and he's like, I don't want to go, you know, because he doesn't feel compelled to stick to me everywhere I go. So, you know, I may be off doing something or out with friends or something like that. So we do have a binder with, because sometimes if something happens, you get panicky or you think, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah,
It's easier if you have those instructions in front of you telling you, okay, I thought of this ahead of time. Let me tell myself what I need to do to read it step by step instead
Mhm.
of your brain suddenly spinning, going, oh my God, what do I do? Because
yeah,
it's going to happen. It just is. Um, but yeah, we walk through things. Let me put it that way. We kind of walk through and say, okay, if we have a kitchen fire, like all the likely stuff, kitchen fire, what would we do? All the likely stuff up to, hey, if things go nuclear,
yeah.
you know,
And there's certain things you like, you conceptually can prepare for, like
yeah,
missile attack.
we
But
can talk about it, but
yeah,
there's some things right. Yeah.
I with my brother because he has special needs. It's a lot more walking through stuff and getting it in his memory on
Right.
repeat because it's all about repetition.
Yeah,
okay,
And so with
exactly.
him, I have to walk him. Okay, well, this is what we're going to do, and then this is where your bag is, and we have to actually do stuff. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So just to get that, and again, there's only so many things we can do, but the main things I've done is the fire because we're almost always together too. But there's a few times like if I go to the store, and then sometimes he goes to the library. He takes the bus to the library, and even then, it's like, okay, what to happen if? And we've role played that several times. So, but that's a few things we have. Most other things I kind of have it. I don't know in my head, which probably isn't the best, but as the
yeah,
head of the house, it's just kind
yeah.
of
Yeah.
It's tough. We've been through floods, hurricanes, right? At this point, we're kind of like, okay, we kind of know what we need. Uh, with the change in the law here in Texas now, Sassy's got her little pew with her everywhere now, which I'm very happy about.
about.
Uh, but yeah, we've with the kids when they were at home, I'd be like, look, if this happens, it was the whole Panera thing, which was the one dry run they did. But you drive home, find your siblings, and if you can't get out of the parking lot and there's some ugliness going on, y'all play lacrosse and football. You're all in sports. You're 2 miles from the house. Run.
Yeah. Oh,
Leave
shoot.
the
Yeah. If
area.
you're 2 miles,
Bebop your butts home, and we'll figure it out when you get here.
yeah.
But
When I
man,
had
Chad
my
is putting aliens there.
I know.
Battle the aliens.
watch out for the aliens. Watch out for the Cloverfield monster.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was thinking Mars Attacks.
Oh, that
Oh,
too.
God.
Yeah.
That was such
Yeah.
a
Shad
bad
does
movie.
like the
I love that
ack, ack.
movie.
So does Shad.
I
Shad.
love that movie.
Ack, ack, ack. Yeah.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Do you guys?
Yes. I used to watch Elvira,
That was
Mistress of the Dark.
such a bad movie.
Bad
It
movies are
was.
awesome.
And she made it famous.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I love cheesy bad movies. They're some
Oh,
of my
yeah.
favorites.
I like a good bad movie.
Yeah. Well, when they do it on purpose to make it
Yeah.
stupid, then it's fun. It's when they're trying to be
When
serious
they camp it up,
and they screw it up, and you're like, okay, now this is just gross. Yeah,
this is just
that.
cringy now.
Well, yeah. No, when it's camp on purpose, that's what I love. But although there have been a few that weren't camp on purpose, and they were fantastic too because they were so
True.
horrible. Totally different subject, though. Sorry.
Well, no worries. Ladies, it looks like we have run out of questions in the chat, and we are at about an hour and a half, which is a little more than I promised I'd keep you guys. Do you have any last parting wisdom for the audience tonight?
Keep prepping. What to say, keep prepping. I was going to say fall. I was going to say there's an election coming up. Keep prepping.
Yes.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier today. I was like, I think people are going to have some strong feelings no matter which way it goes.
Yeah. And then they're going to lose their biscuits.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said, but I didn't say it quite that nicely.
They are. So thank you for having us on.
Absolutely. Thank you both for coming on. And there goes Mad Shad with his ack, ack, ack.
Exactly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to wrap this one up. All of you, Godspeed, be safe. Do not forget to follow these two awesome ladies who've joined us tonight because they know quite a bit. They don't take credit for what they know. So go follow, like, share, leave comments, nice comments, please.
Thanks for the qualifying that.
Because there's smart asses in the chat. I know.
It's like I'd be over. That's okay. I got a filter on mine. Be over there. Delete. Okay, guys.
All right, you, sir, are in timeout. Yes.
Block.
All right. Well, folks, ladies, I'll chat with you backstage. Everyone else, you guys have a great night, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
And